call to order. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. We had a tragedy today in Edison. You may be seated. Roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Here.
Councilmember Coyle.
Here.
Councilmember Deal.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
Councilmember Joshi.
Present.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Council President Ship Freeman.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by an annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Sentinel on December 13, 2019, and posted in the Lobby Municipal Complex on that same date.
All right. The clerk can read a resolution of recognition.
Whereas each time the Lions Club gets together, problems get smaller and communities get better. That's because Lions help where help is needed in our own communities and around the world with unmatched integrity and energy. Lions' 45,000 clubs and more than 1.3 million members make the world's largest service club organization. Lions are active men and women in more than 200 countries and geographic areas. Whereas New Jersey Lions and New Jersey Leos collaborated with Edison Job Corps, NAACP, Metuchen, Edison, Piscataway, and FBLA, Saraville, and Edison for Together We Can food drive and sculptural contest, participation to stamp out hunger with non-perishable food and bottled water drive. They collected non-perishable food was used to build sculptures. Whereas the sculpture building contest was held on Saturday, December 14th in Edison Township Council chambers, the sculptures were on display through the 15th. After that, the food was donated to the students of culinary arts at Edison Job Corps and local food pantries. Bottled water was distributed in affected areas in Newark. Whereas all sculptures were judged on 4 criteria: theme, creativity, construction, and appearance in 4 categories: children, youth, adult, and organizer. Now, therefore, be resolved, the Municipal Council Township of Edison hereby recognizes all teams for the dedication to relieving hunger by participating and winning the Together We Can food drive and sculpture contest.
Right now, we're open for public comment only on this resolution. Anyone that would like to make a comment? Yes.
Hi, Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. I'd like to congratulate the Lions Club. We've worked many times together at the Thomas Edison Memorial Park, and they do a wonderful job. And they do many other activities throughout the township. And I'd like to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Mahesh Chitnis. I'm the past district governor of Lions Club. First of all, I wanted to thank Mayor Lanke and the council for allowing us to do it here. The main reason for this whole activity was to create the awareness of hunger, because many of us feel living in these towns that the hunger, etc. issues are in poorer neighborhoods, but we do have that issue in Middlesex County. We do have that issue in Edison. So we all come together and build the sculpture to create that awareness. It was a fair judging, and we had 2 of the councilmen here sitting here. Council President Joyce and Ajay Patil were the judges. So the judging was very, very fair, and thank you for letting us do that, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, I'll close the public portion. Motion to adopt?
Motion.
Second. Okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi?
Yes.
Councilmember Patel?
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
Yes. At this time, Councilman A.J. Patil will be the presenter.
And Council President, if you would like to join me, because you are one of the judges, so.
Yes.
So we have the 6 proclamations here, or the resolution of recognition from this council. And thank you, Council President, for arranging this. I would like to call all the 6 teams at the same time. Either you can come in a group, or you can bring your team lead, whatever it works. So the winners are Sunshine, Suhag Jewelers, South Brunswick Bridges, HSFBLA, and Menlo Park Leo Club. There were 22 plus participants, multiple groups. It was a wonderful event. We saw a lot of creativity. Again, as the resolution says, it was judged based on the theme, creativity, construction, and appearance. And these all are the winners. Again, congratulations, and good job, and continue to do this job. Again, thank you, Council President.
Okay. I would also like to let everybody know that from the state of New Jersey, the Senate and the General Assembly also sent a citation. Commendations and praise are extended to Saraville War Memorial High School and by the citizenry of the 18th New Jersey Legislative District through their elected representatives for dedication to relieving hunger by participating in winning the best construction and most good food collection titles. All right, you're welcome. The second one is, okay, best theme title for Bridging the Gaps. Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, this next one is for Team Sunshine. Together We Can Food Drive and Sculpture Contest. Team Sunshine, representative? Come. Okay, all right, we're very proud of you. The next one would be the Viewer's Choice Award, Menlo Park Leo Club. Oh, okay. You're welcome. The next one would be South Brunswick Bridges. All right, nice representative. Here you are. Last but not least is, I hope I say it right, Suhag Jewelers. Suhag Jewelers. All right. Okay. Are you a representative? And we would like to say congratulations
And
again.
I have one more.
And one more,
HSFBLA team.
of course. Thank you.
And Mahesh Chitnis, if you can come and you can distribute all the pins
Yes.
for the cards.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I thank you so much for young people being interested in other people's hunger. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right, I want to discuss in a point of light, Acting Director Joyce Virtue, you can tell us more about the celebration coming up this Saturday?
Hello. Yes, this Saturday here in Council Chambers, we will be having our annual Martin Luther King celebration to celebrate African American History Month and also Civil Rights Movement and all that he did. So in celebration of that, we'll have some speakers. We have a wonderful entertainment from young audiences. We'll be doing I Love Nat, which is a reenactment, self kind of show that he will do talking about the past and how African Americans did the trek out west way back when, and tied into civil rights and also about African American History Month. Also, we'll be awarding the Martin Luther King Essay Contest. We'll be awarding then Together We Stand. We will be awarding the plaques for that too on that day too. It's from 1 to 3 here in Council Chambers this Saturday.
Thank you very much. Also, we have on February 4th at the main library at 7 p.m. They will be doing a ribbon cutting for the Black History Month beginning of the celebration. Right now, we have a review of the minutes. Do I have any comments? Okay. Okay, we do the resolutions. All right. All right, any comments from the business administration? Any comments on the business administrators from A through E? 8A through E. Any comments or questions on the resolutions from A through A and E? All right, moving right along. From the Department of Finance, any questions or discussion?
Council President?
Yes.
I just have a question. We have our temporary budget appropriations. I know that the administration is making a budget up for us now. Do they have an anticipated timeline as to when we expect to see the budget for 2020?
Yes, my anticipated timeline right now, if I receive the AFS numbers and all salary and wage numbers, I'm going to try to have it done by March 31st.
Thank you.
That's my goal.
Any other questions?
Council President,
Yes.
on E, through Council President, question to Maureen. As we know that the EMS service is no longer with the township, but do we allocate any money for the voluntary EMS service in the budget?
For E, we're talking about the labor contract?
No, for the voluntary EMS service. Do we allocate any money for in the budget?
Oh, in the temporary budget, we don't ever pay those allocations until after the budget's adopted, usually in September, October. So that's why I don't have any, we won't be making any payments until after budget adoption.
Correct, but do we know that in the actual budget, will be
Yes, it'll be
allocated?
105,000 as it'll be the same allocations.
Okay,
That
thank you.
never changes.
Thank you.
I understand.
Moving right along, do we have any discussion from the Department of Health? 10A and B? All right, moving right along. This is good. From the Department of Law, 11A through E. All right. Number 12, from the Department of Planning and Engineering, 12A through F.
Council President?
Yes.
A, can somebody explain to me what that is about, that program, what it actually does for us here?
Yes, Councilman. The idea is that just using illustrative numbers, I don't know the actual numbers here, but using illustrative numbers, a house selling at $300,000 might be beyond the means of an individual or family to purchase the house. But if you can reduce the price of the house, they'll be able to both, they'll be able to afford it and buy into it. So basically, this is a grant that will reduce the price of a house, make it affordable. There will be a deed restriction placed on the home, so that you can't buy a home for $215 and sell it the next day for $300,000 and pocket the $85 difference. So the deed restriction is part of that, and it's part of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That's where this money comes from.
And does this go against our COA?
It's part of the resolution that resolved the affordable housing, part of the resolution of compliance. It takes, yes, to answer your
Okay.
question directly, yes, it takes one unit off.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else from the Department of Law?
Planning engineer.
I mean, Planning and Engineering, sorry, way back up there. Next, from the Department of Public Works, 13, that's A through D. All right, number 14, from the Chief of Fire, A, approval of the volunteer firefighters. All right, no discussion? All right, number 15A, from the Chief of Police. Any discussion? All right, moving right along, from the Township Clerk.
Council President?
A, B, and C.
Council
A,
President?
B, and C,
Yeah, I see the resolution, it says adding.
and we're adding D.
Yeah, that's the question I had.
Yes, we're adding D.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. R71, adding to the agenda, R71. Any discussion?
Council President?
Yes.
I see that we did receive the resumes for the zoning, but is there any way, or has it ever happened where we actually sat in on an interview or a discussion? Or is that just something where typically we would call the applicant and, just kind of get a feel for him? Are we on this? We just had these on?
I don't mind answering this question. So typically, especially with the zoning board, since we make those appointments, we can interview. Sometimes people that have previously served on the zoning board will interview the person ahead of time. If we know the candidate because they've currently been serving, then, and there's no pushback, then we will put it on again. I'm not sure about the other council members, but I've spoken to the appointments right now.
So it's.
I have also.
Oh, okay.
I've also
Yeah.
spoken to.
Okay.
I've already spoken to them.
So it's okay to reach out to them and have a conversation?
Yeah.
I'm asking just because I know on the school board,
Yeah.
you can't reach out to employees or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm
this is,
What-
I'll give you an example. When, there's been times, whether it's the library board, zoning board, when I see an applicant, I would want to personally just reach out and either, one, speak to him. I want to get a feel of who I'm going to vote for ahead of time. So I've done it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I
Thank
just
you.
think this is in a different category than.
Oh, yeah.
Than people that work for the township.
Yeah.
Us,
True,
You know
that's
what I
true.
mean? We shouldn't be overpowering the people that work for the township. We shouldn't, use our power against them, I don't believe. But I have spoken
Oh,
to the people for the appointment. Because they introduced themselves to me because I didn't personally know the person. So that's how that happened. And I believe, I know Joe Coyle, though, Councilman Coyle, I believe I know that one, on D, I believe I know that guy. Yeah. All right, any other questions or discussion on that one? Okay. From the council member to the planning board, there's no report on that. Okay, so ordinance, that would be 2062. is on the meeting for final adoption. Any comments? All right, okay, so we're moving right along to unfinished business, would it be ordinances? Okay, we're on to discussion items. All right. Starting with Brescher.
Yes, I'd like to propose a motion to add a resolution, but I'd like to explain a little bit about that first. I'd like to say that there was some misinformation, I guess, that's been out there about this resolution, whether it's legal or it's not legal, or can we do something other than the way that I'm proposing it here. The point is that those comments are not relevant to this subject. The point of the Committee of the Whole is to investigate publicly so the public can see transparency. And please, let's not divert what this was intended to be. Let's not confuse the public about small specific points. Well, there are so many points that need to be explored. With large tax increases looming this year, we need to be aggressive to find solutions, and that's exactly what this does. It allows the council to turn over every rock to see what we can find. And it does it openly for the public to see it. I ran on transparency, and this is exactly what I promised the public. With a Committee of the Whole, the public gets to see everything. I did send a copy to all my council colleagues at the same time we received our packets. I wanted to give everyone time to digest this and reach out and ask me questions they may have. This committee can see if bringing back our ambulance service is economically viable and if it is safe. Edison did perform this service and now is performed by an outside vendor that seems to be charging more per trip than Edison did. We need to see if this service would be better done by the township, as it is a life safety function, and my personal belief is life safety should be done by the municipality. This is well worth investigating in an open public forum. I also did some analysis of some warehouses and found that in Edison we receive $1.70 a square foot, and Piscataway was receiving $2.20 a square foot. On the table there, I've left some paperwork, if anybody would like to take a copy so that you can follow me. But in there is Exhibit A. Am I right? Only a Committee of the Whole can show the public with facts and transparency. My concerns are that the segmented coefficients of deviation and the stratified coefficients of deviations are out of parameters. Some on social media have said this cannot be done. It is targeting. Two great Edison mayors, Swales and Yolensis, did this back in 1983, and it was challenged and it was upheld at the appellate division. Let me quote, "Because of concerns that industrial and commercial properties have been underassessed, shifting the tax burden more towards residential properties," end quote. The court said it was okay as long as it was done by division, not targeting an individual. And you can see that in Exhibit B. Am I right or wrong? A Committee of the Whole will explore this in front of the public. Facts would be presented, and this resolution is for the formation of this committee. I looked at JFK, and they pay fees to Edison. They pay approximately $500,000 and do not pay taxes on their profit portion of the hospital. Hackensack pays a total of approximately $3 million in combined nonprofit and profit sections of the hospital. A tax judge has found in the town's favor in Hackensack, saying that sections of the hospital act as profit centers and should be fairly taxed. You can see Exhibit C. All I was looking at was if Edison is receiving our fair share from our partners, and the Committee of the Whole would explore these taxes and what other towns are doing. Our Assemblyman, Robert Karabinchek, proposed legislation, Exhibit D, that would protect hospitals from town taxes. It would cap JFK's payment at what we are currently receiving. It looks to protect every part, the parts that are being run as profits. They were working on circumventing the tax laws to protect hospitals from having to pay on profitable parts of their organization, while putting the cost on the backs of the host communities and their facilities. When a tax judge says that is not fair for nonprofit hospitals to not pay taxes on the portion of the hospitals that run as a profit center, Why would our assemblyman try to circumvent a judge's decision? You will hear it is to cut legal costs for the hospital. When a hospital organizations have a $500 million budget and can't pay $2 million in taxes, that seems unfair to me. They should not be able to hide behind a nonprofit status, and our elected officials should not look to expand the tax-exempt status to profit-making portions of our economy. Please call Robert Karabinchek's office at 732-548-1406. Ask him to work for our Edison residents, not large corporations. This legislation failed to pass, but this does not mean it cannot come up again. Please call our Assembly people and ask them both to never put this up again. They are our elected officials. They should explain to you why they do not want host cities to receive reasonable compensation, just like a tax judge has stated in Exhibit C. In closing, I hope I've made it clear that the intent is to investigate and get all the information on the table for an open, public, and honest dialogue with a committee of the whole and the public's help. And then I have the resolution that I'd like to put up, which is calling for a committee of the whole to be opened up to investigate.
I,
Oh, no, you go ahead. No, that's what we want to make a motion.
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I assume, Councilman, that's a motion, so now you're looking for a second as to adding that resolution to the agenda.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, so there's a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call.
Well,
Oh, you want some discussion before that? Okay.
I understand the motion was made, so we have to do it, but I would have preferred a discussion on it, but that's okay, we can vote on it.
No,
now.
we can have a discussion
We don't have a discussion.
before the vote,
Okay.
sure.
Before
That's fine.
It's not, you don't have you can't have a discussion as to whether there should be a motion or a second, but you can have a discussion as to, whether you would want to add it or not.
Sure, absolutely. Councilman Brescher, one, I applaud and respect the amount of time that you have put in addressing a lot of the concerns that residents seem to have, especially related to taxes and EMS. A couple of points that you brought up that I wrote down I want to just briefly go over. One related to EMS, I'm widely in agreement with you. I think that that's worthy of a discussion, and I look forward to sitting down with you and speaking on solutions or ways that we can address that. That's the first part. The second thing is related to the fair share of warehouses, and I believe that, well, one, it's not a legislative function to dictate tax policy or tax reassessments. That's just not one of our functions. So I'm not sure why that would be part of a committee of the whole. And I know you mentioned the case from 1980s, which I looked up. It was an appellate case in 1980s. After that, there was a 1990 Supreme Court case, which obviously takes precedent over it, specifically clarifying that spot revaluations was not legal. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to be very, very clear to anyone that's listening. I completely support making sure everyone is paying their fair share. Absolutely. I don't want, corporations and companies to be able to get, I think that everyone should be paying their fair share per squidage. But the reality is that we cannot reassess based off of specific industries or individual properties. If I could, or if we can recommend the mayor do that, I think that would be terrific. We'd tax Amazon all day. Why not? Makes sense. We would love to do that. We would love to just say, hey, Amazon, pay up more. But we can't do that because that's just not legal. It's not even a non-starter. It's a non-starter for a conversation. So for that reason, I disagree with that one part, but I do agree with making sure that everyone is paying their fair share. Related to JFK, I understand, I heard the feedback from the residents, and I know that they're paying about $500,000 right now, which seems, it seems minor to the average person in the public. they're saying there's so many square feet, perhaps they're acting as a for-profit, non-for-profit. But the reality is that the IRS designated that nonprofit status. What I would ask is, I would ask us to take a step back and go over this together, because I'm completely in favor of having a conversation exclusively on JFK, making sure that they are paying their fair share, their per bed, per amounts, the amounts that they should be paying. I support that 100%. I just don't think the way to go about it is through a committee of the whole and investigating it. Honestly, I think that we can quickly do that through the health department, or have an inspector in the tax department go out, count the beds, and then have a conversation with their corporate saying, this is how we feel, rather than going down perhaps a legal route that would, I see the papers that you just provided here. They brought up, this was a lengthy lawsuit when they went into that. And I know you'd acknowledge that. That was in Morristown. So Morristown spent millions of dollars going into this lawsuit because they were not cooperative partners from the beginning. And they went millions of dollars into debt, and it took years to settle. I think that it would be more beneficial for the public to at least try to have a conversation with the JFK management and work something out behind the scenes, rather than spending millions of dollars, just like this case did. So I support that much in making sure that they're paying the right amount. I support that as well. I think the part that we disagree on here is the method by which we're going at this. And the other point is, like I said, I appreciate the amount of time and respect that work that you've put in, but a lot of us have worked on different solutions. I know one thing that I've noticed in the budget year over year, and I hope that you can support this. There's one reoccurring issue that always comes up in budgets, and people always wonder where money is going. It's overtime. The amount of money that we spend on overtime in our public safety is honestly just not really acceptable. Whether we need to hire more people, whether we need to address it through balancing, that's the appropriate way to go about it. And we've spent millions of dollars in the last couple of years, millions, on overtime alone. I think that one solution alone can take on the budget and taxes much like how you want to, without going into a legal battle, which is essentially what you're requesting to do. So I would ask to, I know that you had this idea. I know a lot of other council members have suggested ideas as well. I think what I would ask is, let's perhaps combine both of our ideas and work towards a better solution that we can all agree with.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes.
I agree with what our Council Vice President said. I applaud Councilman Brescher for the effort, and I agree that there are areas that we need to examine thoroughly for everybody's well-being. I disagree, however, on the method of the Committee of the Whole. Having extensive experience with Committee of the Wholes, they are nothing that you need to enter into quickly. I know the last one that we entered into, we're still involved with. They are difficult to navigate and control sometimes. I think it becomes cumbersome if you do the good work you want to do, or with the good intent you have to use a vehicle like a Committee of the Whole so quickly. I would be more supportive of a Committee of the Whole if, after a period of time, there was some type of frustration or dead end that you faced and you weren't getting the answers that you were looking for. That's pretty much what happened to us. You know that we're involved with the Committee of the Whole with the racist flyer. It's been years. This is nothing that's quick, and we waited a year and a half, and it was only after we exhausted several avenues of inquiry that we felt we had to form a committee of the whole. So my suggestion would be, and I understand what you're trying to do as far as the areas that you want to examine, I applaud that and I agree with that, but I think the vehicle of a committee of the whole is cumbersome. I don't think it's the right time to do it, so I wouldn't support that at this time. Thank you, Council President.
Council President,
Yes.
you know, I think the questions that Councilman Prescher has brought up are legitimate questions. I also think that there are valid responses that could clearly explain that, and they could be done in the public. I mean, for things relating to the tax assessor, we can have the tax assessor come in and explain some of these questions, and it could be done at a council meeting. I certainly, as Councilman Deal said, I certainly don't believe that a committee of the whole is the avenue to go. There are reasonable and logical explanations for a lot of the things that have been addressed or have been commented on, and I think that they can be addressed directly, and a lot of them can be addressed at a council meeting. But I don't think that going into a committee of the whole is necessary at this point. It's the first time the questions have been brought up, and as Councilman Deal says, haven't run into any roadblocks. If you run into a situation where everything becomes a roadblock, then you can obviously explore different avenues to get that information. But my recommendation is move forward with the questions, get everybody the answers. We can do it here publicly and try to satisfy what you're looking into. Thank you.
And just putting it basically plain, I don't think that it would be good for this town to spend like over $6 million to recoup maybe 50,000. I think the way that Councilman Alvaro Gomez stated would be the best thing, because that would be in public and all your questions would be answered in public. That's the way I felt at this particular time. I don't want to, as I stated when I first became president, I would keep your taxes at a minimum. I'm not trying to fake you out and make something different than what it is. We have a lot of things before us, like our water, our sewer is #1 at this particular time. We need to get that taken care of. And I just want to keep the taxes, because the seniors like me are depending on us so they can still stay here in Edison. So things that can be addressed in public without a whole lot of more lawyers, all right, is the best way that we should go. That's just my opinion.
Council President?
Yes.
I'd like to thank you for your time in having this discussion here. Two things I just want to talk about. As far as, spending millions to try and recoup money, there are law firms, because I know that I was approached by some, that would take this on, and they do it on a contingency basis. I'm not a big fan of a contingency basis when I think, you have a great way to win the case. But they take it on that if they don't win, you don't pay them anything. So that's always an option, but maybe these options, we can explore together. My concern about doing it openly was, and I believe probably every council person here and everybody in this room have heard rumors, and I'm going to call them rumors, that do we know that the warehouses are the size that they actually are, that were built back in the 70s? When they say that they're 100,000 square feet, has anybody actually checked them to know that they are 100,000 square feet? No one's been able to actually tell me that we went out and reassessed them and remeasured any of them. And then there was a question that came up where, I guess over the last maybe 4 years or so, we have bonded for millions of dollars. And some of those properties, after having it for 2 years, I don't know that we went back and reassessed them, because I know that when you talk about warehouses, their tax is based upon the value of their property and their income, is what I've been told. So if they went for their tax appeal when they were vacant, their numbers were reduced. And I don't know that we went back and re-looked at those tax appeals that we've now bonded for. Maybe the administration can help us with that and give us a list of how many we went back to look at. That might help.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think that a lot of those things can be addressed. You know, if they're under the Freeze Act, you cannot go after them, but I think there's a lot of initiatives that the tax assessor's office has put forward, and I think that it'll be worth sharing with all of us and sharing with the public on how proactive we have been. I mean, we haven't been to DCA, in the last 4 or 5 years? To be able to ask for additional funding. We've been able to pay for it ourselves, but a lot of it is because we've been proactive. I mean, this New Jersey governs all the any activity that happens with tax appeals, and then it goes through the courts. So under the Freeze Act, you have a certain amount of period that you can't do anything about it, but I think it'll be worth noting what initiatives have been put in place internally to be able to address or be able to jump in at the right time. So that's why I'm thinking that education-wise, it will benefit everyone if a lot of these questions are answered, because I don't think that there's anything negative from that aspect of it, but I think that the education and the steps that come into play to going through that process will be beneficial for everybody to understand. And I think they'll probably answer a lot of the questions.
Are we
Thank
ready
you.
for roll call?
Council President, I just wanted to make some remarks. At first, I appreciate everybody's open discussion, and I thank you, Council President, for your patience. This is a subject that's most important to our residents of Edison, and I do commend our, I don't want to say rookie, but our young, new councilman here, Brescher, for coming out and bringing this subject to light. And it's not that any of us have ever thought of this before. Councilman Alvaro Gomez sits on the Finance Committee. I'm sure this subject's been discussed more than a few. But if this resolution does not pass, I'm open to the direction of our council president and this council to perhaps go have discussion items case by case, whether it's evaluation of the EMS, whether it's evaluation of overtime versus additional employees, whether it's evaluation of districts. When I say districts, I look at the opportunity of having a problem on a liability direction where we're just pinpointing, spotting people we want to reassess. So I'd want to go through the proper channel, through our counselor. If it's district by district, that's something I would support, where we could assess that district and relook at questioning those properties in that particular area. So I'm listening to our council and their discussions, and I'm open to see where we can go forward if this resolution does not pass. Thank you, Council President.
And Councilman Cole, you touched upon a great point. There's just one thing that I want the public to understand. I think that when this issue was brought up related to tax reform, the assumption right off the bat for most of the public that I had interacted with or heard from was that they just thought that taxes would go down drastically. And I think that that's the part where the public needs to realize what the facts are. Just related to what you said, Councilman Coyle, you know, in a reassessment, spot evaluations it's a non-starter in a conversation. It's absolutely illegal. So what would have to happen, and it says it in the state manual for tax assessment, it's a 760-page manual, which I went through a couple hundred pages of, but it specifically states that you have to do all or none. You can't just do certain areas unless it's like a new development. So what happened in Jersey City, for example, when they just did it a couple of years ago, it was the Exchange Place came up, which was essentially a brand new neighborhood. You know, it was popped up, completely redone, and that's the reason why they were allowed to compare that area, which was essentially new, to an older area. That's the reason why it was a rebalancing. And what was also told to me was, and what I read is, when you do revaluations, it costs millions of dollars. The estimate for Edison Township would be $3 to $5 million to do a full revaluation. Now, which we're due for in time, but it's probably not beneficial to take that on. We're allowed, the state actually allows us to be able to split those payments up because of how expensive the suggestion is. So between 3 to 5 million, and keep in mind, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes about 3 years to complete the revaluation itself. So, and the outcome of most revaluations is 1/3 of the town's taxes will go up, 1/3 will remain unchanged, and 1/3 actually decrease. But in Edison, based off of the way that the last reassessment was done in 1990s, it would be condominiums and older homes that were not reassessed prior to 1990 that would probably get the hardest hit in terms of increases. So for this reason, along with the other reasons alone, I understand, I'm eager to work on this. I just want to be able to tackle it the right way, and I don't want, honestly, condos and seniors and older homes to get hit. That's what I'm concerned about.
Council President, I think, we are mixing the proposal what Councilman Brescher is talking about is the tax reform, but mainly looking at the commercial part. I understand the whole taxation, the revaluation might take 3 to 5 years, but if you look at our neighboring town, the Piscataway, all the commercials were reevaluated 2 years ago, not the residential. So this is not something we are talking about just pick one sector of the business. We are talking about the warehouses, it's mostly all the commercials. The reason I'm supporting this resolution is we paid $20+ million in tax appeals. However, our price value that was never ever renegotiated. And we are continue to pay that. And if the finance chair, Gomez, can explain year over year, probably we bonded the money to pay that $20+ million.
Yeah, we've paid over the last 8 years over $25 million. We're committed to going, but I wouldn't go as far as saying that they have not been reassessed. Again, once you go through a settlement of a tax appeal, then you're under the Freeze Act. But the point that I keep on making is we're making assumptions as to what can be done and cannot be done. And I think the most clear thing is for the tax assessor to come in and explain, like she's done in the past, of what are the steps that need to be taken, what steps can we take under the law, and what proactive initiatives have we put in place where we have gone through the reassessment process of properties that have come off the Freeze Act. And I'm sure she'll be able to provide statistics and provide numbers as well to be able to support that. But I think now we get into is why was it that Piscataway was able to do this? Why? And also for the record, Councilman Joshi, so the state, in case the state is hearing, we have began the process and have continued to move forward in the direction that the state has directed us to move into reval. One step was the tax maps. So I don't want the state to think that we have halted on what we are supposed to be doing, but yes, it does take an extensive amount of time to get through that process.
Again, Councilman, I respect that. This is my 5th year on the council. If you look at the track record, out of the 7 members, last 2 council budgets, look at how many people were really keen to understand the budget that this mayor presented in 12 to 15 minutes and questioning them. So are we really there to find or give her back to the taxpayers and cover the big guys here? Or this is just we want to continue to discuss through the finance committee? And just remember that we exhausted all our surplus in 2019. This year, we will be short of those $9 to $10 million unless everyone is saying that we are going to recoup that money one or the other way, or maybe coming up with some number that we may not be able to meet in 2020, and it will probably go in your tax increase somewhere upward 8%, 10%, and by the time it's going to be too late.
I'm not sure what you're insinuating by covering the big guys. I mean, that's borderline.
I'm talking about the commercial, not the residential.
So you're saying that we've been covering up for big guys. So that's an allegation, an accusation that, and you were on the finance committee for 2 years, so I'm not sure what information you didn't get or what part you weren't. But to go ahead and say that we're covering something that is governed by the law, I'm going to refrain from that conversation. I allow you to put that on the record. I will not, because you're implying that we are breaking the law.
I'm not saying breaking the law, but we are
You're saying covering, which means...
Covering in the sense, we could have looked into the hotel revaluation.
Which the Finance Committee did in the past, and we raised the Hotel Acts to within the limits that can be done. So again, it's making allegations of things that have not happened. but in fact, it did happen.
Yeah, but Councilman, that is where the whole idea of committee as a whole is to expose that. because
I
know for
don't
the
think you can
fact-
ask, and then we can pull the information. You don't need, that information
I did.
hasn't been denied. Has anybody denied giving you that information, and
Yes.
when was it that it was?
I can tell you that I have probably dozens of emails that were sent to Maureen on asking a lot of information, and one point in time I was told, if you continue to send this email, you will never get any information. And I want to put that on the record here.
You can, but I believe and I see that, and I know that many of us ask many questions of the administration, and when and how we get them, or they have to do the research, then that's, we got to work on the timing. But again, if we put the questions out, and feel free to put them out in the public so everybody can see what the questions are,
Of course,
then we can go ahead and do that. But again, I want to be very clear. To make allegations of something that we're bypassing the law, that's taking it a step too far.
Councilman, I have an idea, just perhaps a happy medium, if I can interject. Everyone wants to know, I think all seven of us, as well as the administration, agree. We want to ensure that every company, every corporation, as well as every home happens to be paying their fair share, right? We all agree on that much. I would ask, to me, the reason why I don't support this language as is because it locks us into years-long millions of dollars of legal battle. I would at least ask, prior to this vote, taking this vote, why not have the tax assessor come in, perhaps do a presentation if she wants, or if they want, and go over the largest contributors? Because I think that when we have these type of discussions in public like this, the public doesn't know who to believe or not. And they're left with, it's sad.
Just please make the distinction of contributor or taxpayer.
No, taxpayers.
Thank you.
So when they're, and it's important that we respond to the public by making sure that they understand the budget as well. Perhaps a 12-minute presentation, as you said, was not enough. That's fair. It's completely fair. But I think that if the tax assessor were to come in, then the tax assessor's office can explain these are the largest ratables that we have in town, and these are the reasons why they're assessed this amount. I think that type of information would go a long way in terms of building public trust, which I think what we all do. Instead, and if you're not satisfied with that, then I can understand this vote. But I think that it's important for the public to really understand who's paying what share.
All right, can we get a roll call then?
Madam President, can I just to Sam, that was my main concern that you just hit there. It was about the public, and that the public gets to see, everything, and that it's being open and transparent with everybody.
All right. So
Perfect.
All right, so that's taken care of. So can we get a roll call now?
Are we still voting on it, or? Okay.
You're
all right.
voting.
There's a roll call on whether to add this resolution to the agenda tonight. That's, a vote, a yes vote puts it on the agenda, a no vote does not put it on the agenda.
Councilman Brescher.
Yes.
Councilman Coyle.
Yes.
Councilman Deal.
No.
Councilman Gomez.
No.
Councilman Joshi.
No.
Councilman Patil.
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
No.
Okay. Does not go on the agenda.
All right. Oh, discussion item, so, listen, so we're now, ooh, that was a while. Now we're on Councilman Coyle.
I would hope, Councilman Brescher, you have nothing else to discuss. And it doesn't mean I have extra time, Council President, but I'll make this as quick as possible.
Thank you.
To the administration, through the Council President, I just had a few addresses I wanted to document with you. I've had several complaints on a group of properties, and I just wrote down the addresses. For Montview, it's in the Heights section. There has been excessive cars and excessive noise. They believe the house is being used as a multifamily. Edmund Street has been asking for the one-way. I know we're working on that. I just wanted to at least make sure that we're moving forward. Little Avenue, I'm getting several calls on that, and that particular complex wants to have a meeting. So I'd like to have some update with that. And just on brief for this second, on that subject, what progress has been made for Little Avenue? For the widening evaluation opportunity?
Well, I had sent you a report on that, the status update. I didn't actually bring that to the meeting with me.
Okay, I apologize, I didn't see.
Where we were and next steps.
Okay. Oh, okay, thank you. I'll move forward.
And on Edmonds also.
Okay.
But I can have both those reports at the next meeting.
I got Edmund, and I just wanted to reply that that particular neighbor has been communicating with the DOT, and I know that the police department has made a comment that this may not be recommended, but the DOT is in agreement. This is not, I don't have it in writing, but they're in agreement pending a resolution from the council to make it a one-way, provided that our department's and application process agrees. I want to move just to Silver Lake, just to be on the record, my update on Silver Lake for the adoption of that area. 19, this is a group of used car dealerships on the south end of Edison off of Woodbridge Avenue. I was out there on the weekend, and I took a ride with our council president just to acknowledge some things I've been working on for the last 2 years. My problem is not that used car dealerships can't do business in Edison. It's just that they take advantage of the approval they may or may not even have and extend by buying extra property. They have absolutely not one shrub on the property. They pave right to the curb, and they park more cars than some dealerships. And I wrote down a list that I wanted to pull, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. I know the departments are busy, but 1975 Woodbridge Avenue, 1835 Woodbridge Avenue, 1855 Woodbridge Avenue, 1821 Woodbridge Avenue is a separate property we discussed, which has turned into a junkyard with a banner fence around it. If we can have those resolutions and approvals pulled, I just would like them to abide by what they've been approved for. That's all I'm asking. This is not something I started yesterday. This is something we've been working on. I know our departments are busy, but I'm sad on how the south end of Edison looks, because the people are hardworking there. I mean, I don't think they have the time to complain every day. Working families can't get out to meetings like this. And I also believe that some residents may be nervous to complain about their neighbor across the street from them that believes they can turn their house into a junkyard. So I'm here to defend that part of town. And I know other council colleagues have joined me several times in this area, but I'd really like something to be done. I'm open to it happening throughout this year. I'm not saying tomorrow, but if we can't finish this year, I think it is sad for the people who live back there, because their house appraisals, when we talk about taxes, they're being taxed just like everybody else. And they're being taxed when cars are flying through their neighborhood because of the cut-through. They're being taxed when there's a junkyard across the street from them. There's no difference in our assessment on that note. And if there is, I certainly like to see it. But when I look at their tax records, they're paying a normal tax rate as everybody else. And last, I just had a property on 72 Delwood. It's been under construction for, the neighbor tells me, 4 years. I don't know where they're at, but they've left a mess on the front of their property, and the neighbor has complained. I hope we can address that. I thank you, Council President, for your time.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Deal.
Thank you, Council President. I don't know, do we have a representative from our fire department here tonight? Okay. Maybe we can get some information. We don't have many terrible fires in Edison. We don't have many fatal fires in Edison, but I understand today we had a fatal fire that took 2 lives, 2 residents. A big tragedy for our town, for sure. And I was hoping that maybe we could get an update on the information that the fire department would be able to tell us. I understand sometimes when fires are under investigation, you don't get a whole lot of information. But is there any information with the public here tonight that we can share about this fire?
The investigation is ongoing. The prosecutor's office has responded. So there's little additional information that we'll be allowed to give at this time, other than what you said. Unfortunately, there was 2 fatalities, an adult and a young child. At this time, the investigation is ongoing, like I said, and they're trying to determine the cause of the fire.
Thank you, sir. My heart goes out to the families of the victims. Certainly, our condolences. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Councilmember Gomez?
None at this time, Council President. Thank you.
Councilmember Joshi?
None, sir. None, ma'am.
Yeah, be good with that. All right, Councilmember Patel?
I think the Saturday or Sunday, there was a rabies clinic. Kudos to Health Department. The entire staff, including the director, Jay Elliott, did a wonderful job. It's a good response, and I would expect that to continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Last but not least, I can tell the public, I don't answer questions on Facebook. I don't do political stuff on Facebook. From what I understand, Jim is working on my email on my actual council site. If anybody would like to have a discussion or talk to me or something, please go through that site. I don't do gigantic press conferences and all that stuff. I'm straight up regular person because I don't, I just don't go all over the place. I'm here to serve the people and most of the constituents. That's exactly what I want to do. I don't want to get sidetracked on petty arguments that may, mess the whole situation up. Thank you. Okay. At this time, we're going to start our regular meeting is going to start. Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval, okay, I just did approval of the minutes. Motion to approve volunteer firefighters.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I'm not going to do council remarks again because I just did them. All right, unfinished businesses, ordinance for further consideration, public hearing, and final adoption. 2020, is it 2062?
An ordinance authorizing the acquisition of easements for the Brotherhood Street Improvement Project on properties identified on the tax map of the Township of Edison as Block 20A, Lot 4, Block 20A, Lot 5, Block 20A, Lot 6, Block 20A, Lot 57, Block 20B, Lot 1A, Block 20B, Lot 2A, and on the tax maps of Piscataway Township as Block 8802, Lot 3.02, by exercising the power of eminent domain.
Okay, open the public comment.
Motion to close the public portion?
So be it.
Second.
All right, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry, a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
Yes. Okay, we're on to new business. Okay, proposed ordinance.
An ordinance adopting the Patrick Avenue redevelopment plan, Block 203, Lot 17, qualifier C003, and Block 206, Lots 1A and 2 through 15, for such properties in the area of and bound by Patrick Street and Route 287 pursuant to the local redevelopment housing law.
Council President.
May I have a motion to introduce?
Council President, I move this ordinance to be passed on first reading, published according to law. Further consideration, a public hearing set down for Monday, February 10th.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
Yes. All right. 2064. 2064, 2065 you got here.
Oh, I'm sorry. This one next.
Okay. Okay, 2064.
Ordinance amending the Township Code Charter 16, fire protection and prevention, to provide for various amendments to the Township's Fire Prevention Code to further ensure compliance with the State of New Jersey's fire prevention regulations.
Okay, motion to introduce?
Council President,
Yes.
I move this ordinance to be passed on first reading, published according to law for further consideration and public hearing set down for Monday, February 10th.
Second?
Roll call.
Second.
Wait. Deal. And roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
Yes. Okay. 2065.
Ordinance establishing the not-to-exceed salaries of the Township of Edison council members.
Motion to introduce. Okay, okay. Motion to introduce. Oh, I move this ordinance to be passed on the first reading, published according to the law for further consideration and public hearing set down for February 10th on a second agenda.
Second?
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes for introduction.
Councilmember Joshi.
No.
Councilmember Patel.
No.
Councilmember Chip Freeman.
Yes, for introduction. Okay.
Council President, just before we have a discussion on 2066, the business administrator did ask Labor Council to take a look at this ordinance. Labor Council was not able to make any comments yet, but he had some concerns about the compliance with federal law. There's certain provisions that need to be in the ordinance. So I don't know what council's pleasure is. You can introduce tonight. We can get those to you for the next meeting, but you will likely need to reintroduce the next meeting, or you could just hold it, if that's council's desire, for the next meeting, and we can get you the changes that Labor Council has recommended.
All right, so we can introduce tonight, and then we can do the labor changes at the next one?
You can, and then you may have to reintroduce. It's, candidly, it's
All right.
just another vote, but that's
All right,
whatever
that's
council's
fine.
pleasure is.
And
That's
Council
fine.
President, we have done that in the past. We
Yes.
did, if there is a minor change, yes, we.
Yeah, so we'll.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a minor change. I think it's going to require a reintroduction, and then the public hearing couldn't be on the 10th, it would have to be the next meeting.
Okay.
All right.
So, Council President, I'd still make the motion to introduce it for now. If we have to reintroduce it, then so be it.
All
So-
right.
Correct. Council President, I move this ordinance to be passed on first reading, published according to law for further consideration and public hearing set down for February 10th, 2020.
All right, roll call.
Second.
I second.
Who said first? Councilman Patil, second.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes for introduction.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
Yes. Okay. Open public comment on the resolutions. Just on the resolutions only. Oh. Bruce Diamond.
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert. On number 50, I am curious, that's the one where you're lowering the value or the buying price of the house. How is the house taxed? Is the assessed value now reduced by 25% to compensate for the reduced price because it's now low-income housing?
I would assume that it would be reduced based on the value of the subsidy, but Mr. Diamond, I never thought of the question. I will certainly get you the answer, but I'd be making it up if I gave it
I
to you right now.
spend all night thinking of questions like this
And-
for you.
And
you got a
had
haircut,
you emailed me
too.
earlier, I could have tried to
You
get you an
wasted that
answer.
haircut because you didn't impress
I did.
anybody tonight.
I did. When my hair's longer, I can think much better, but.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll get it to you, Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Andrew Heibel, Howard Avenue, Edison, on R63, the redevelopment agreement. It's basically with Ray Katina. I understand they're doing a lot of building on Route 1 and on Main Street. I'll be back later to talk about Main Street more. But back when they built the building on Main Street, I want to say, Albert, maybe 10 years ago, I think the building was around there. We were told back when they were building the building that we were possibly going to be getting a traffic light on Morris and Main Street, and that never happened. And now they're adding to the building, and they're adding further down to the building, and now they're building another building further down on Morris, on Main Street. I was wondering if somebody can look in to see if possibly if that is ever going to happen, or if it fell through the wayside about getting a traffic light there.
Well, that's certainly, this just approves
Right.
them to proceed under the redevelopment plan, but this will go to the planning board. If there was certainly, I would assume, I won't pretend to understand it, but I won't pretend to state specifically what it is, but that's certainly an issue that can be raised at the planning board. And if
Okay.
a light is necessary, then
So
it will
this will be-
certainly be part of the project.
So this then goes to the planning board after this,
Still
so I
has
can
to
go to
the
that
planning
meeting?
board. The planning board has to approve everything they do, including, if a traffic study is appropriate and necessary, and if a light is necessary, then that would certainly be, fair game for discussion
Sure,
at the
thank you.
planning board.
And then R64, the resolution for the pedestrian hybrid beacon on Woodbridge Avenue. I believe it's going to be in front of Ben Franklin and the Babs Temple. Before they paved Woodbridge Avenue, there used to be a traffic signal that was closer to Mill Road, so the kids can cross at that traffic signal that was operated during school hours, because there's only a sidewalk on the right side. If you're going towards Ben Franklin, there's no sidewalk on the left side, so that traffic signal is no longer there. So I was wondering, is that going to ever be replaced by the county, or is this beacon going to be replacing that traffic signal?
I don't know that any of us could, to that would have to be a county issue.
Right, because I don't know why, but they paved Woodbridge Avenue and they took the traffic signal down, and it was operated only during school hours. And now I see here you have the beacon, and is that going to be a traffic light, or is that something that's in the road like Metuchen has for pedestrians? I don't know what a hybrid beacon.
It's a crosswalk.
Across with the blinking lights, okay. So I don't know, like I said, I see that on there. Maybe somebody can look in to find out what happened to the traffic signal that was on Woodbridge Avenue further down, further crossing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Motion to
On
close the public
resolution?
portion.
Excuse me?
Second.
Should anything, does anyone want anything pulled for separate vote? I guess not. I make a motion, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Deal.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Council President Chip Freeman.
Yes. Now I need a motion to open the public portion.
No, you just open public from the list.
Oh, okay. Now, we're in the public
Petitions.
oral petition part now. The first person's, I'm going by the list first, so that would be Maria Orchard.
Hi, thank you. Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. The first thing I wanted to say is on Saturday, There'll be a special meeting at the Board of Education. That's by, where is it, Pearson? Forget the address. Everybody is invited to attend, and it's going to be with the new superintendent, and that'll be on Saturday at 4:30. We're urging all parents, regardless if you're special ed or not, just to come and show up, and we'll have a discussion with the new superintendent. Thank you. Thursday, January 30th, there's the Middlesex Greenway meeting in the Clara Barton First Aid Squad. We ask if you wanted to attend and see what's going on with the Middlesex Greenway. I'm doing something on Thursday, February 13th at the Clara Barton First Aid Squad. Everyone's invited to attend. We're going to have a presentation by the fire department. So we're really excited about that, open to the public, and it's also on the township website. I wanted to let everybody know the Clara Barton First Aid Squad is still in operation, although they have merged with the other two squads in Edison Township. They have a little, I guess, PR issue where they're now known as the Raritan Valley EMS, and they're looking for volunteers. They are still active. And if anybody wants any information on them, please look up at the website, and they also have a Facebook page. My concern also was the recent development in Boundbrook. Wanted to make sure that our fire department, of course, is up to accommodating such a horrendous act that unfortunately 2 of their apartment buildings burnt and went up to a 7 alarm. I just wanted to make sure that when we're looking over the fire, that we would take into consideration all these new buildings and make sure that they're up to code. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. This is public portion.
Tony DiPasquale, 2 Pine Street. One of the things that I brought up, I guess it was in the winter or the fall, and I was at the first library meeting of the year, and as I spoke at the one a few months ago, there's still 2 factions on this library board that constantly are at each other. And it's actually very embarrassing still, because you have, I think it's 3 or 4, and then you have the 5 or whatever the numbers are. But they still tend to not get some stuff done, I feel, because there is constant battling back and forth. They spent time on a lawyer and the cost of it and this and that, and somebody didn't have the correct information, and it's just like, well, you guys, you got to get your act together here. As somebody else mentioned, other towns are seeing our videos. They're looking at us because we're, a pretty big library operation, but they look at our library board, and I would go, really? Like, this is your board that is running your library system in the town? I don't see it getting any better. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's going to continuously be this way until some changes are made. I don't even know. I mean, I guess, the mayor appoints these people. Does he even watch the videos at all? Is he seeing what is going on? Does the council have any input on what happens at the library board? It just is, it doesn't make sense. You have adults up there that are intelligent, but I truthfully think, again, it's the politics that is getting in the way of them working together and getting things done. And I'm just going to continuously bring this up because it is, again, very embarrassing. So, and again, they have a budget of, $6 million that they're spending. If you look at the way they work, I don't know how you would trust anybody with your money to spend with how they handle things. I mean, if I handled our money at my house like that, I'd be out on the street. My wife would be like, what, are you crazy? I mean, it's just that bad. And again, they're spending our money. They're in charge of our money. So I really think, I don't know if you can get a message to the mayor or who needs to look at it, but truthfully, something needs to be done.
Excuse me, sir, one thing I want to let you know, the mayor does not appoint each person.
Okay, how does that
Library
work
board.
then?
The school board appoints a person. And
Well,
puts
right, the
them on
school
there.
board, but the rest of them are
Yes.
appointed how? By the mayor then?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
but not everyone.
Not everyone,
Right.
okay,
All right.
yes, and yes,
I just wanted you to get it correctly.
Oh,
So when
okay.
you say it
No.
the next time, you won't just say the mayor.
Well, the
Right.
mayor does the majority of them, but I get what you're
Majority,
saying.
but, you know, I just wanted to be honest with people.
Sure, no, I
Right.
get it. I knew that, just didn't bring that up. And this other thing that I'm bringing up, just, you know, I wasn't gonna bring anything else up, but I do think that we need to be careful with the integrity of the council people on the board in how they accuse people. That something just happened a few minutes ago, which I thought was uncalled for. And I really think there needs to be an apology, because there was 2 accusations, one about buildings or whatever, and then there was another one about somebody else in the room. Totally uncalled for. And I think there needs to be an apology, because if not, there needs to be proof behind these accusations to the public. It was put out in the public. So now, as citizens, we're going, well, what's the truth? What's not the truth? And as I have spoken to the Board of Education almost every meeting I go to, the integrity of the boards to the citizens is so important, because if you want to get things done, you want to get voted on again to be on that board, you need to show us the integrity that you have to run and be on this board. And that's just something I think, and we all need to ourselves, we all need to know the integrity of ourselves with other people. So again, I'm not going to name names because you know what happened, but I just think that, you know, we really need to think really deep and hard on how we say things and we make accusations. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
And thank you. Sure.
Susan Campione, Schiffer Court in Edison. So years ago when I moved here and I would go to try and find something to deter the deer from eating all of my shrubs, people thought I was crazy because they didn't realize all the deer that we had, which I know Councilman Deal has brought up. But my concern now, I'm not sure whether you're aware or not, but my house backs up to the Dismal Swamp, and there is a very bad coyote problem. I've called the state because I did come home about 6 years ago, and there were 4 coyote pups on my lawn, and they had said that they were going to trap them, but they have done nothing. I've called. They are howling and screaming at night. They are no longer just coming out at night. I have pictures. They were in my backyard. They chased the deer. We can't let dogs or cats or anything out. I know off Nevsky, a friend of mine have had videos up on Facebook. They've attacked her dog. They just keep breeding now. So there are dens of them living in the Dismal Swamp, and I don't know where else, but they're getting very brave, and they're coming out. And the deer eating my shrubs, yes, it's an inconvenience and costs me money when it eats my garden, but the coyotes, it's danger. People say they've been here like forever, but it really is becoming a problem. And like I said, it's not just at night. They're coming out during the day. I have pictures, of this high standing in the backyard. So, and I've seen them chase the deer. You could see them spooked, and they're coming. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe there's something you guys can do with the state about getting them to trap them.
Yeah, we're going to be looking into that because I'm even afraid of ants. So,
Yeah,
I'm very concerned.
I'm an
I'm very
animal lover.
concerned.
I just saved a cat recently. I just, I don't want them hurt, but I also don't want our own animals. And the other thing I just had a question about was how often we do traffic studies in Edison, because I do live off Talmadge Road, and I have to tell you that I have to leave my house so early in the morning to try and get to work, because I cannot even make a left out of the neighborhood. And the school buses stop the traffic on Talmadge Road because they refuse to come in our neighborhoods, because then they can't make left-hand turns, so they stop on Talmadge and have to stop the traffic. But I have to tell you, a lot of cars don't stop for the buses, and I'm always afraid of what's going to happen with one of these kids getting off. There's hundreds of kids now off Talmadge Road that go to our schools. I don't know. There's hundreds of trucks on Talmadge Road going up and down, but I know that we have a light at Park Avenue, and there's one by the townhomes. I don't know if another traffic light would help, or timing the lights differently, or something. But Talmadge Road, you might as well be on the Long Island Expressway. It's bumper to bumper, morning, in the afternoon. Just now when I was coming here, the trucks are out of control, and you cannot get out of a Sunday. We were leaving on a Sunday morning, and we could not make a left out of our neighborhood. So I don't know how that process works or how often we do.
Could you email me all that information?
Sure, I will.
And I'll look into it?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Rich Sweeney, Sutton's Lane. I feel you. I have so much traffic on Sutton's Lane, it's unbelievable. But anyway, the reason I'm here is I'd like to congratulate the elected officials, especially Mrs. Shipp, first woman, first African-American woman. I love it. I wish more women would get involved in politics. And second is Esther okay and the Wilkies? Anybody know anything? Because they're like, clockwork. Anybody? Is there something wrong with them?
We spoke to Esther, right? Councilman?
Yeah, because usually they don't miss anything.
Councilman,
whether it's
We spoke to her. I don't know her condition, but
right.
she had some treatment. And
Yeah,
she's waiting.
okay,
I mean, I'm sure Maria.
I understand the HIPAA law. You can't talk to me about things. But anyway, I'm just concerned that they're okay. Because I respect them. They're here more than the.
I know.
The priest at St. Matthew's. But anyway, secondly, Joshi, your father, he must call you son. The reason I say that, you're a bright man, and there will be litigation that would be unbelievable. And the only lawyer that's not going to charge you is for personal injury. This guy, I mean, I don't know I don't know which attorney you talk to. Excuse me, I'm not trying to be rude, but only attorney I know is going to not charge you is personal injury.
Mr. Sweeney, there are attorneys who take tax appeal cases on contingency. There's attorneys who take there's environmental tort cases that'll be taken on contingency. Yeah. So it's not unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say.
I do.
Guys like you are going to make a ton of money.
I want to be clear that I have heard of what Councilman Brescher was talking about.
I understand. I'd like to talk a little bit about the census that's coming up. Yeah. I mean, the way the voting went this year with the amount of people we have in this town, there's a big problem here somewhere. There's a problem here somewhere. I don't know what the problem is, and I was kind of turned off by the referendum for the school being turned down. And the reason I say that is you got 220 units going here, you have 170 units going here. Where are these kids going? And I think, I don't know if I'm at the right forum, I've spoke at the Board of Education, but where are you going to put these kids? And to the taxpayers, if they go to a split session, you're not only going to have to pay for latchkey in the morning, you're going to have to pay in the afternoon, the evening, and the morning. So your tax compared to what these cost of somebody looking over after your children, I just don't understand it. I can't figure out how come people in this town don't vote. Is it because they can't vote? They have green cards? I mean, you got 130,000 people. You got 59,000 registered voters, and what turned out during this primary election, maybe they won by 5,000 votes apiece. Maybe someone won 57,000 votes. Because I always watch the numbers, and Councilman Deal always gets the most. But anyway, I'm very concerned about that. I really am about the school situation. I think, the way they market it, that gentleman that just spoke, two people before me, I don't know his name, and I agree with him about the library board. But the way they marketed it, I don't think you should market it with teachers. Because myself, I think teachers deserve the money, just like you guys deserve more money. I'm a believer in that because I wouldn't do what you guys do for the dollar amount, the time and the away from your family as much, you know? But, yeah, I'm really concerned with the school situation. And I asked for traffic studies here. I asked for traffic studies at the Board of Education for John Marshall School. But it isn't only John Marshall School. It's every school in this town. I only see John Marshall School because I'm right in the crosswalk. And the crossing guards, that's hazardous duty. I mean, who, through the chair, can I talk to the officer?
Yes.
Who is responsible to check on crossing guards?
When we receive a complaint, we send an officer out.
Okay. I guess
So if you have a particular complaint, just see me.
I haven't called and complained, but I have a serious situation in my neighborhood. But and I think that crossing guards should get more than $11 an hour. The reason I say that, because when you have to send police officers out there that are getting $60 an hour or whatever it is, you know, do the math. I'm not a mathematician either. But anyway, thank you. Welcome. Take care. Have a good evening.
Hala Katsov, 151 Whitman Avenue, Edison. I brought this concern already with the previous council members, but I don't see anything was done with the construction right in front of my house. The dust, dirt, and the noise, what they creating, it's unbelievable. We really lost our peace, quietness. Even we had before, for years, this little factory there, but which was created a lot of, you know, sparkling dust, but it wasn't a problem because every other, like, months, they were sending us, like, coupons to wash our cars. You know, they took care of us. Now it's absolutely, you cannot talk to anybody. I stopped a couple of times with the the construction manager, and he ignored even. He didn't want to talk to me. I have his name, but I didn't bring today on it. And as I understand, the entrance to that warehouse, which is going to be right in front of my house, not in front of only my house, but it's about 10 houses. It's going to be right in front of my driveway. Right now, when trucks, the big trucks, is taking dirt in and out, okay, my house is shaking. And I can imagine when the big trucks is going to start entering on that little tiny street, they're not going to widen that street. The street is going to stay the same as is. And the house is shaking, and we're going to leave with that shakes. This is one thing. When they cut all these trees and everything, they disturb the nature. And as soon as they disturb that nature, all the underground, the mice and creatures, they spread around. And I even had a couple of them in a little plastic bags. I forgot again to bring it today, but I think it's not necessary. You will believe my words, okay? This is unbelievable. I even hired the exterminator because I heard a couple of voices that scratching on my attic, and they put some traps in my attic. Probably it's mice. And also I read on the Facebook that mice ate the wires in a car that caused the damage to $7,000. And I don't want that will happen to me too. And I don't know what we're gonna do now. We cannot stop this construction, I understand, but is any way that we can do this entrance, okay, and noise? They're starting this noise starting 7 o'clock in the morning. They're finishing their job like 3:30. but they starting 7 o'clock. And since 7 o'clock, the trucks in and out, creating the dirt on the street, and sometimes it's closure on the street. It's very inconvenient. And a couple of mornings, I saw that people are standing, the employees, they protesting, the union workers, and they're not treating their workers, employees in the right way. And I also saw the couple of times they were shut down because of the code violation, and they violating code since they started. Because I also concerned about bring that concern before, that when they cut the trees, they grind the trees right on the premises. They're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to take that trees out and grind in some on other place. But all this grinding, noise, and dust went right in front of my house. I have a picture of my house with this dirt. And Anthony Delmorin, he saw the dust inside of my house on August 6th. Wow. It went through my doors because through the screen, through everything, it was right inside of my house. So this is really, really big concern. And I believe that my neighbors, they're hardworking people. My next door neighbor, the young the couple, they have 3 kids. He leaves the house around 4 o'clock in the morning, and he comes like around 5 o'clock. And my husband, even my husband, he leaves the house 4:30 in the morning. He comes 7 o'clock at night. And, to come to this environment, I don't think so. And on top of that, the taxes is going up. Instead of, this company who is going to have this property, they should take some burden from us.
Thank you.
Okay, and the second concern is train, okay? As I understand, they're not honking horn at night, but when they moving the cars, okay, they stop. The noise from the cars is hitting each other. It's like an explosion. Sometimes I wake up from that noise. I don't know with whom to speak about these railroad companies. This is the second.
I don't know about the railroad company, but I'm sure they'll send somebody out from code enforcement.
That's my thought. Yes, we already sent them out. We had the job shut down.
Yes.
Apparently, it's going to have to be shut down again.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert. I too watched the library meeting, and I was disappointed that that crew came back. And they came back just as antagonistic as they left the last meeting. I don't understand. A healthy dialogue is good for everything. Antagonism does not do anything to solve the town's problems. It's just a disappointment. As to the salary increase, I'm not sure what a fair salary is. I'm sure whether you're making 12 or 20. Well, here, just for this, I think New Brunswick is $10,000 a year. I think Woodbridge is $10,000 a year. Why are we the leader? And also, I wish you would have run on this. People should know that the day you got elected, 2 weeks later, you wanted a raise in salary. Usually when I applied for a job, if it didn't pay enough, I didn't take it. So I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
But I'm not so sure yet about you, Mr. Brescher. We'll discover. Time will tell. But, you should have said out loud that you expected more money when you're going to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, you, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. Just three things. The first thing I brought to you is the schedule of the Board of Education. I'm not sure if you had looked into that, because I know in the last couple of years, people have been asking the two councils to try and have meetings on different days to allow the opportunity to attend meetings, me being one of them. And actually this year, instead of having our caucus meetings on Wednesdays, we switched them to Tuesdays, which allows me and other people to come to your meetings on Wednesdays. So I actually printed out a copy to show you and to see if there's any meetings that you could change to allow people to come to our meeting, our action meetings on Mondays. So I brought that with me to bring to you. So that was the first thing. The second thing was I was very upset on Monday. I had gotten my Optimum bill in the mail. And I looked at the bill, and it was the same as it was last month, so I put it in the mail slot to pay the bill. And with that, the phone rang. It was my daughter, and she had said, "Mom, it's all over Facebook about the increase in prices for Optimum." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's the same amount as it was last month." She said, "No, the price goes up February 1st. She says, "Go get the bill and see if you can see it, because people are talking about it." And when I looked at the bill, and I itemized it with my bill, it looked like my bill was going up $65 a month. Well, I went into utter panic, because I can't believe how much I'm paying already, and now they wanted to add another $65. So I called Optimum, and I asked about it, and the initial guy didn't know what I was talking about, and he said someone would get back to me, and no one got back to me, so I'm not going to wait. So I called back, and I got someone else, and it was a young man on the phone, and he said, "You don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Well, you put it in with the bill." He said, "Do you have your bill?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Open it to page 2." And I opened to page 2. And he said, "Look at the pricing schedule." And I said, "All right, I'm looking at it." And he said, "Do you see where it says your bill will only go up $14.50? I said, "What's going up $14.50? I said, "That's in such small print, but yet a huge paper showed me my bill was going up $65 a month." I said, "So which is it?" "Well, I guess you'll have to wait and find out." So I said, "You know what? I will wait till next month, and then when my bill goes up, I will be calling you back. And what is your name and employee number?" So I wrote it down. But it's absolutely disgraceful, and I went online to ask other residents if they had gotten it, and most residents are just so fed up with Optimum, they're dropping them and going on to the different services. And you have to be a real computer person in order to know the ins and outs. And a young lady that I know is actually going to be willing to show me some ins and outs in the near future. But at the same time, I'm not given any option to go to another company unless I want to put one of those ugly dishes on my house, which I do not want to do. But there are so many other companies out there. I don't understand how Optimum can have such a hold on this town. Now, I know in past years I've been at meetings, and they said, well, none of the other companies want to come in because it's too expensive. But something needs to be done, because I feel like this company has a monopoly on us, and unless we pay the bill, that's it. And it's very upsetting that they kind of have a hold on us rather than us have a say as to what companies we can choose. And, you know, that's very upsetting. So if there's anything that you can look into to see if something can be done about it, I was very upset about it, and if I, had shown you the difference, this big, I want to say it was an 8.5 by 17 sheet that like my package was 89, it was going up to 119. Another package was 59, that was going up to 89. Another package was going up $5. And it was very upsetting to me that who else was getting this bill and who's actually going to have to pay these exorbitant prices to watch TV. My husband's to the point where, just rip it all out. And I'm like, but I can't, I need my Yankee games. And, that's, kind of the reason why I get stuck with the different packages. But they shouldn't be able to do that. I think we need to have a little more control over who and what companies take hold of our residents. And number 3 is the best thing. I experienced a spit and run. I brought this to the council, I want to say about a year ago, where the paving men, they come to a pothole, they spit out some tar, and they get back in the truck and run. Rather than, you remember that, huh? Rather than pave some of the streets. I've been in my home for 37 years, and it's never been paved, except when one of the pipes underneath the ground break, and then they have to pave it back. But I actually got a spit and run, and I got a kick out of it. I went out and even said hello to the guys when they were doing it. I saw I got a spit and run, and they kind of knew what I was talking about. But to be honest with you, now as you drive by, you see all the blacktop spitting out. It's more or less like a spit and run and then spit back, because it's not in the pothole any longer, and it just happened last week. So if we could, Netherwood Circle, it would be nice to get paved anytime soon.
Elizabeth, do you want the answers on the monopoly of the Optimum?
If you have an option, I'd appreciate it.
You want to go?
Yeah, I know that your time is up too, so I don't want to. Oh, okay, all right.
Well, this is your time, it's not my time anymore.
I just want to be fair. All right, so I've looked into this, and us being council members, we get hundreds of complaints about everything all the time. And one of the things that I feel absolutely needs to be looked at is Optimum and the cable television providers and ISPs, because residents pay over, on average, people that have Optimum, they end up paying $1,000 in a year towards this, right? So, a minimum, hold on, a minimum. All right, fine. Thousands. So, the reason why I want to look into this, and first I wanted to reach out to other companies to see if we can get them to come here. But the issue is this: across the entire country, you have just a few you just have a few providers, and they purposely don't go into each other's territories because they don't want to allow and facilitate this type of competition. And when they do, eventually when they do come, in a town like Edison, it would cost so much money for them to have wires run through the entire town. Because essentially, if you're another company, Company X, you need to make sure that when Optimum is already in the entire area, if you're going to provide service through the wires and everything that goes through, like Main Street, for example, you need to make sure that you're going to pick up these customers in advance. So that's the reason, because these wires cost a few dollars per foot, and installing them is a lot to do in general. So that's the reason why, one, they don't challenge each other in each other's territories. There's actually a map that you can look up for where they compete, and it's very few places in the entire country that they actually interfere with each other. The services across all of them are abysmal and just horrible. That's just how they are. That's why South Park has done so many episodes on how awful their service is, because they don't care, because they have these monopolies. But there is a solution. The solution is what I would like to do is look into a feasibility study for municipal broadband. And municipalities across the country, there's a couple hundred that have done this. they've looked into, they've actually set up municipal broadband where the town essentially has its own program. We will never be able to rely on another company to be able to come here. That's just not going to happen. So what we do is do a feasibility study. That study alone costs less than $50,000, and I think that the council should look into it. I've reached out to a few different companies, but they didn't want to come to Edison to conduct the entire study itself. So I think the first thing is get a company to do a feasibility study, see how practical it is, get the options. Most times when we have the study done, the cable companies freak out. And when they freak out, they say, hey, how do we get you to back off? What kind of service can we provide? The cost is never going to go down. And usually other towns have used that to say, all right, give us our whole town a 10-year break on X amount of prices or cap them at whatever, and give us X amount of speeds. That's also worked. So the study itself will work, in my opinion. The other option, and people have said it's too expensive for the town to bond, and I've spoken to various mayors, administrators across the country that have set this up. And what they've said is what you would want to do is, if we were to test out municipal broadband, it has to be in high-density areas, such as apartment complexes, condominiums. You start there and you show that, like, for example, or even certain parts of Edison right around Town Hall, where if a home is less than 100 feet apart, if from wire to wire, if a home is less than 100 feet apart, it's considered high density, where it's cheaper for the town to be able to implement this. The speeds that municipal broadband does across the country, it's twice the speed that we are getting right now. It's more than 300 Mbps, which is way more that we're getting right now, for $10 to $15 a month. So we would be saving, like you said, a couple $1,000s. Residents would literally save $1,000 a month if this would be implemented. That being said, I understand that we don't want to bond out and have an entire program for it. I want to test it out if we can, if the town builds support for it. The place to do it would be apartment complexes, condominiums, where it's high density and it doesn't cost the town a lot of money to set it up. So that's the solution. I don't want to ramble on it, but there is a solution. It's never going to be from another company.
But is there any way you could control, or I think it's somebody else's business, actually, to control the increases that we get?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's.
I didn't think so, but I could
You're right.
try.
They are a monopoly. The way you deal with a monopoly is the BPU regulates it, and I'm sure it's cold comfort, but I can tell you, in my town, we have options for Cablevision and Fios, and they both tell you to go drop dead. There is the prices just keep going up. I have tried to bargain one against the other, and it's like, if you don't like it, don't take it. Ultimately, the problem is it's just too expensive to wire everything. So, but Councilman Joshi's point's a good one. If we can bring our own competition through broadband, maybe it doesn't help me because I'm not real good at cutting the cable or cutting the cord, but people like him will be, so it's, maybe that would help.
The next generation will be okay.
Right.
Can I
Okay,
just
and I
make a
just wanted
comment?
to give you this schedule.
Okay.
Well, there is one.
Who was it? Okay, it was him, then next.
Council President?
Next you. At first.
Council President? Yes, I'd just like to comment back at Elizabeth. And I did talk to you about this.
Yes, it went right over my head.
Yes. I had cable 2 years ago.
Okay.
I no longer have cable, I just have the internet. And right now, because of the 5G that you have out there, I'm thinking about cutting my internet and just using my cell phone with my 5G, because I watch TV out in the middle of the bay, not on my cell phone, I stream my cell phone to the TV on the boat. So there's, in the future is where I think we're going. I don't think you're going to have this cable
Absolutely.
companies.
You're absolutely correct. We're not gonna, that's not the future. That's like I was telling her, that's not the future. The whole cable. Mr. DeMoran, and then, you want her to go before you? All right, that's fine.
I want to piggyback on the cable.
All right.
Beth Talkey, 15 Midwood. I'd kind of like to address Sam on this one because I know you've been looking into the, Cablevision, mess up. And I'm telling you too, my bill would be going up 34% if I get my $60.54 increase that they said. Now, here's the thing that I'm concerned about. Is there anything that we can do? Because the company, when you call, depending on who you speak to, what time of day, and who's actually calling, they play let's make a deal with the prices. There's nothing consistent to the residents of Edison. You might call on a Tuesday, get somebody in a good mood, they'll give you a cut. Then you might call Wednesday night around when it's time for them to close. They don't want to hear it. They'll do nothing for you. Is there anything as residents that we can do when we call to negotiate our, our prices that we have to pay on our part that they can be consistent with what they do with the public?
No,
It's the same thing that he just said.
what he
You
said.
can't, yeah.
You can go to BPU, that's all you can do. Board of Public Utilities regulates them because they are, in essence, a monopoly. I know what you're saying, if you, I
I've
actually,
experienced what she said, because I could, depending on the person who answers the phone.
What kind of mood they're in, what time of day it is?
You're correct, but there's, like he said, there's nothing that, I wish we could do something about it, but there's.
But unfortunately, I also believe because it is a monopoly, as would have happened with Suez, because they're not getting, so many people are going to the streaming devices,
Yes.
less of our public is using the Cablevision internet and their TV. So therefore, I'm sure they still have to make their profit, so they're increasing our costs to compensate for that.
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
So I don't think in the future, like when we make deals or contracts with different companies, we can kind of look into that and maybe curb like how much, increases that they can do, whether it's Cablevision, whether it's water companies or so forth.
that's beyond, the council doesn't have that jurisdiction now, that's BPU. They're the only ones that can set the rates, like PSE&G.
But even when we set contracts with them, we can say, hey, you can only keep it between a certain range?
No, the contract, the franchise agreement basically allows them to come to town and wire. We could try to say, no, I'm going to charge you $1 zillion to come, and then they sue us, and we wind up back with the franchise fee. The franchise fee does not give us any doesn't give us any flexibility to try and force them to do any of those things. That's solely beyond the town's jurisdiction. It's with BPU.
And then even if we do make these contracts, maybe not for such a long period of time?
But my point is it doesn't, I think they are, okay, I don't think it's going to get you anywhere, is my point. We can reject them, we can tell them we're not giving them a contract, and then you have nothing, then you don't get your Yankee games at all. But I think if we tried to do that, they would sue us, and a court would instruct us that we had to let them in because they've already wired the town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Anthony.
Anthony Diamond, 15 Road X Circle. First order. Now, just to confirm, we reappointed all zoning board and planning board members, minus one. I think the old councilman is now on the planning board. Is that correct? Does that sound about right?
I'd call him the former rather than the old.
No, former, yes. He's a young man. Is that correct? Or, okay.
Yes.
Taxes. Look, you could have 5 committee of the whole, 17 subcommittees, but when you live where we live, some of us live off of Vineyard Road, Whitman Ave, Top Golf, do not come to us with a penny in tax increases. That's all I could say. You got to do what you got to do. Have all the committees you want, but you can't come to us and say you're raising taxes, because it's the residents there have been patient. They've been loyal. We deal with a lot, the noise there constantly. I invite everybody in my home. Come there, 10:30, living room. You could hear legitimately conversations. From Top Golf. It's a lot. It's a lot. You add Conrail. It's just do what you got to do. Don't raise it a penny. As far as Whitman Ave is concerned, I will say Joe Coyle has been in contact with me a few times. One of the zoning officials as well. They've shut it down. I know that. We got to keep an eye on it. But the people on Whitman Avenue they're dealing with a lot too, dirt. So it's, taxes is a big thing. You can't raise them. You got to do everything you can and not raise them. It's just not fair. Let's see. And this question is for the, I guess, for the attorney. A hypothetical situation.
You know my position. I'm not going to answer hypotheticals.
No.
I'm giving legal advice to you as a resident. If I'm answering hypothetical, my job okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, hear me out. If you were to add 2 council members, let's say, and you were go to a ward system style government, is that something that you would have to, that you could just pass an ordinance on, or does that have to go to an actual vote? Referendum vote?
Yeah, I've looked at this question, but not in the municipal context. I looked at it in the county context recently. I think you could certainly do it by referendum. I don't know that you can you go to 9? I guess you could go to 9 and go to, it'd be 3 at large and 6 wards.
Yeah.
You could do that. You'd have to spend a couple of bucks expanding the dais, too.
I bring that up because I think, our town we're growing at a rapid rate right now. And one of the problems I see in this town is that we do not have a boss overseeing the day-to-day operation. I believe that we ultimately need to go to a full-time mayor as well. If you had a couple at-large council members being a full-time council as well for some checks and balances, some of this stuff could be avoidable, in my humble opinion. With all due respect to the BA, she is probably the hardest worker in town. She's believe me, she does overwhelmed with work, in my humble opinion. But we need somebody here that's in charge, elected, because right now it's to be honest, it's like the OK Corral. That's what we have. So I think we need to go to full-time positions here. It's something, or at least to start the debate on. It's not unreasonable to consider it. We're growing fast. To add 2 council members, have people represent districts, have representatives from 5 wards. I think things would run a little smoothly. So I think it's something that I hope we could have conversations about down the road. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Caitlin Nichols, 15 Midwood Avenue. I'm here to bring to the attention of the council a couple of traffic concerns that I have. I thank you in advance for listening, and I hope we can do something to make the town a little bit safer. The first concern is at the Vineyard Square Shopping Center. I'm sure a lot of us have been in that parking lot by the Walmart and the Costco, and I was trying to get my dog a bath at PetSmart the other night, and the lot itself has only 2 small exits for a very, very high volume shopping center. And if you've ever been there at any time of the day, really, or any time of the week, it's a nightmare. There's bottlenecking traffic. Drivers are confused and impatient and driving, as they're confused and impatient erratically. And it's really a safety issue. My concern is not only the traffic in that lot, but also just the hypothetical scenario of there being some kind of an emergency in any one of those buildings. If there were to be a fire or a medical emergency or anything that warranted any kind of evacuation, I have no idea not only how people would get out of that lot, but how emergency vehicles would get in. So I'm hoping maybe the township would consider putting in another exit or 2, or just to do something to help that traffic pattern. My second concern is right where I live, right around Midwood Avenue. I live about a mile north of the Metro Park train station, and the traffic, especially parking, is growing worse by the month up there. I'm noticing a lot of commuters are parking their cars, and this has been a problem for a long time. Commuters are parking their cars on Charles Street and Henry Street, which are within walking distance of the Metro Park station, I think most likely to avoid having to pay for parking at the Metro Park parking deck. And it's getting to the point where Charles, which runs parallel to Oak Tree Road and is often used as a cut-through for traffic there, it's becoming a one-lane road. People are making the turn onto Charles Street and onto Henry Street very fast. I've seen several, thank God it wasn't me, but I've seen several almost head-on collisions at those corners because visibility is poor and there's no space to maneuver around. On Charles Street in the past, my own car has been sideswiped. I've had my side view mirror taken off from people pulling out of those parking spaces and not looking at what was happening around them. So I'm wondering if the council might consider bringing up or debating enforcing some kind of residential parking on those side streets north of Metro Park, because we've got a lot of kids riding buses in that area. We've got a lot of people, residents, who are just trying to get out of there in the morning, and there have been a lot of near misses, and it's getting worse. I was just rear-ended in my car the other day about a half mile from my house, and I always joke that, you know, the half mile to a quarter mile around my own house is the most dangerous part of my commute, and it's getting worse and worse. So I hope we can do something about it. Thank you.
Council President, the Midwood and Charles, Henry, that area.
Yes.
There was a petition last year. I think we were short 10 homeowners. They didn't sign. Otherwise, that was supposed to be the resident parking.
Well, maybe we can try it again. That would be fantastic. I heard, I think years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think around the Christie Street area, around the Edison Tower, something like that was put into place, and it has been effective.
We can reinitiate that petition and.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. All right, go ahead.
He's going for a second.
He's going, this is your second time speaking on public? No, it isn't. It's after resolution.
Oh, that's resolution. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Councilmember Coyle.
I did see him twice. It's just.
Andrew Heibel, Howard Avenue. I guess besides taxes, the next biggest thing in this town is traffic. So I'm going to discuss South Main Street in Bottomtown. I know I was here before, you did the redevelopment of the Ray Katina area. I'm wondering how we could go about getting the Main Street, which is a county road, from Metuchen to Woodbridge Avenue declared an area of redevelopment. Now that you're adding on the bigger buildings, the road is really a disaster. It's backed up. Main Street during busy traffic areas is backed up all the way into Metuchen to Woodbridge Avenue. Now you have where Avenue C is, the stop sign sits farther back from the deli, so when you try to leave Avenue C, you can't see who's coming out from the turnpike or from the bend because the traffic sign is so far back. And then all the way down at the end of Main Street, next to the Enterprise dealership, there's a new building, or I don't know, it's a steel structure with almost like tent material around it that's going up. I'm understanding it's going to be an office building, but if you see the footprint of that building, it takes up the whole property. So if that's going to be a building of some sort, where are they going to park? They can't park on Main Street because that's already a traffic disaster. So I don't know if we can look at Main Street as an area of redevelopment. I talked about the building. And then the next thing, and I was here last year and everybody knows, I'm looking for stop signs, four-way stop signs in Bottomtown. I'm looking for on Morris Avenue and Dorothy, Morris Avenue and Pearson and Tivit Lane. We know there's a warehouse in the old American Can. The drivers all come from New York, and with New York plates, they speed down Morris Avenue, they speed down Pearson Avenue. I leave for work in the morning between 6:30 and 20 to 7. I do work in a school. Mr. Brescher knows that. With daylight savings times now, it's pitch black out, and there's kids standing in the street waiting for the bus because on Morris Avenue, there's absolutely no sidewalks at all. So I was here last year. I asked if we can get some four-way stop signs. Everybody else has them. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Some of the streetlights are out. I contacted PSC&G with the poll numbers already to get some the streetlights fixed. But 6:30 in the morning, the kids are waiting for the bus. The parents are sitting there with their headlights on, so there's some light in the area because you can't see them when the buses come down. So if we can get some stop signs over there. And then the last thing is, also on the road, there's only one speed limit sign when you turn on the Morris Avenue for Main Street. It's the only speed limit sign on Morris Avenue. And then when you turn down on Pearson, there is one digital sign that was added recently, I want to say within the last 6 months, and that's the only speed limit signs we have as well. So if it can be looked into, and I'm going to talk to the planning board about a traffic light out Main and Morris, because during the heavy times, you can't get out of the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Christo, Fox Road. I don't have a lot to say. I just want to say the impeachment case against Trump, it's fabricated, fake news. Joshi, I saw, President, the Vice President, I saw you in the photo on January 19. You went to SARC event. I love SARC. I'm a member of SARC too. It was so Kashmiri Pandits observe Genocide Day. The next day was MLK, so we'll support both. We'll support MLK and Pandit. I just want to say, because there's a lot of confusion as to this issue, Councilman Patel, I saw you with Joyce. Gomez was there. Shipman was there. Who else was I don't remember. Maybe Joshi was there on the MLK celebration at one of the schools. Yeah, I tried going on Edison TV to see what the kids said. I went on there a little late. So we got to educate people about the Kashmir issue. I want to say the King of Kashmir, he handed Kashmir over to India, 100% international law. His name was Harry Singh. And Patel and Joshi, you agree with me on this? Kashmir belongs to India? I just want to hear you guys say it once.
No, hey, listen, that's not going to happen.
No?
Remember, we scolded you before, and I'm trying to be very nice to you, so, all right?
All right.
I just want everybody to be respected.
All right.
All right, thank you.
I respect Brescia. A lot of hatred's been thrown at Brescia today. I'm throwing him some love. A lot of love from here to over there.
Good.
Mr. Ann, great job. You do a great job, too. Him, too. He does a great job. He does a great job. Those two women over there, they do great jobs. I love everyone up there. I love you too, Joyce.
Thank
great
you.
job. Miss Cheryl, Miss Marlena, what's up, Miss Marlena? How you doing? And I'm not allowed to stand up here and not say nothing. I was told that the last time.
No, sir, I let you speak. But
No,
Yeah.
not about you. One time I just wanted to waste my time, 6 minutes. They told me you're not allowed to waste your time.
All right.
So can we have a moment of silence for the two people who passed away today? Is that?
We did that earlier.
Oh, well,
We did that
I
earlier.
came late.
Yes.
Can I waste some of my time?
No,
No?
no, all right. Anyone else before we close the public portion?
Motion to close?
Second.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
In favor? Aye.
All in favor?
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Adjourned.